ECSI fans, you want to revolutionize your sports investing habits? Allow me to tell you about WagerWire. WagerWire is an app that helps you become a superior bettor by allowing you to sync all your sports books and track all your bets in one place. See your current action, your betting history, and stats. You could also sign up for sports books and collect bonus offers. Follow them at WagerWire on X, as it's the best account on the platform. Head to App Store or Play Store now and search WagerWire and download the app.
Excuse me, Mr. DJ.
Hey, check this out. We got a great show coming your way.
From the ECSI Sports Studios, it's the Midday Market Report with Jeff Dawson.
Good afternoon, sports fans from all around the globe. I am the host, Jeff Dawson, East Coast Sports Investors, and it's that time of the week for the Midday Market Report with good friend and colleague, Mr. Beam 'em Up, Scotty Webb, live from Tampa, as we're going to talk some MLB Friday night bright lights, and we get some day baseball. It's Paul Skeens Day. Very intrigued how the Cubs at home, one of the best records in the game, only minus 110, 115. A lot of respect to Paul Skeens today. So a lot to talk about. And, of course, we're going to have Scotty come to the forefront, break down what he sees in tonight's full games of slate in the MLB. First and foremost, a shout-out to our proud sponsors and partnerships. It's WagerWire. Head on over to Google Play, download the app. It is free. And AtlantaSteaksandSeafood.com. Terry's got a great special going on. If I can find it right here. There we go. Head over to AtlantaSteaksandSeafood.com, and an order of $1.99 or more, which is real easy to do there. You have your choice of either 2 free New York strips or 6 Wagyu burgers with the promo code DAD. So just head on over to AtlantaSteaksandSeafood.com. Don't forget the promo code DAD. And then your choice of 2 New York strips or 6 Wagyu burgers, the best in the business. So without further ado, Mr. Scotty Webb. What's up, Scotty?
Hey, man. You know, it's a new set of games. Complete the weekend and see where we end up coming out of it on Monday.
You know, since our last time we talked, the Red Sox called up Roman Anthony finally. He hits a homer. His second game there. The Sox, I don't want to say putting things together. They won 2 out of 3 in New York. In come the Yankees this weekend. The headliner today, can CROCHET knit the Red Sox to a win versus their arch rivals against the Yankees? You know this, I know this. Second time around, usually don't match the first time results, but the funny thing is the Yankees got to CROCHET, but the Red Sox were able to prevail. Kind of interested second time around. Maybe he's sharper, maybe a lesser scoring game. As you know very well, the Yankee starter Yarborough, who's going tonight.
Yeah, I like to look at these games where, I think most people, when they look at these games, think that, exactly what happened the first time is going to happen again. The pitcher did really good or he did really bad, and they're going to go out and do the same thing. Well, my experience and things I've looked at in the past shows that it's quite different than that. And it's very rare. It does happen, but it's very rare to have a pitcher go back-to-back against the same team and produce the same result. Usually it's the quite opposite of that result, and it's almost a stark opposite of the result. So So yes, the game score for Crochet was 49 against the Yankees, and for Yarbrough was 14. So the Yarbrough's not going to go through a 14, and I don't think Crochet's going to go through a 49. They're both going to pitch better. So you're going to see some better performance from both pitchers in that regard. And what's interesting is the Yankees were just on the road with quality pitching that they had to face in Kansas City with Bubik and Cameron out there. Cameron was below 2 on his earned run average, and they scored double digits in runs against both of those teams. And of course, then they sit Aaron Judge. They scored 1 run last night. So, it's kind of the way things go with that team. And even saying all of those things, they don't rank as high as Boston's offense right now. So, Boston's offense ranks number 2. The only offense that ranks better than them right now is the New York Mets. So when you think about, in my mind, when you think about how this thing kind of lays out, you got 2 good offenses, and you really got a dominant ace kind of pitcher in Crochet. You've got sort of Yarbrough who he's been really good. Is he an ace? He's not an ace. He kind of matches up to some of this stuff every once in a while because he throws that junky crap up there and people can't figure out how to hit it. But all that being said, this line is a lot of respect for the New York Yankees. My number is Boston minus 164. This number is way high or way low in my estimation. That you put your best pitcher on the mound, and I pulled this up just so I could share it. I do a lot of the numbers based off of how good these pitchers are. Well, Garrett Crochet is estimated to get a 5.4 WAR at the end of the season. That ranks 3rd in all of baseball. And you're telling me the 3rd best pitcher in all of baseball can't have a bigger line and a bigger number at home against a guy like Yarbrough? Yarbrough won't have a 1, or maybe he'll have a 1 in terms of his WAR number. It's not going to be much bigger than that. So when you think about it, the numbers go Skubal, Skeens, Crochet. That's when it goes. And there's a big gap. I shouldn't say there's a big enough gap from Crochet to Skeens, then from Skeens to Skubal. Skubal's 6.8, man. Think about that. He's 6.8 WAR, and Crochet's 5.4. So, and Crochet's 3rd. So Skubal is like beyond anything better than anybody else. It goes. There's only one. There's the 5th best pitcher right now is saying Zach Wheeler, and he's a 5. Right. Everybody else is below that. So there's nobody else. Nobody else has a 5 in all of baseball, and so when you think about like the Pittsburgh line, I heard you say something about Chicago, right? When you think about the Pittsburgh number, I don't think it's respected enough. I think Pittsburgh should be small favorites.
The Skubal thing is stupid. I saw, me and Cy Skubal, we had him last year as the Cy Young winner. Of course, we took a bite back this year. There was a tweet yesterday, and I'm going to probably mix up the numbers a little, but stay with me here. Since his first 2 starts, which are average, he's got 105 strikeouts and 3 walks since. ERA of point. You got the numbers there. It's just, my all-time favorite pitcher, no one will ever change my mind, is Pedro Martinez. He was the greatest of the greatest for me. There was a stretch where DeGrom was just unhittable. What's the words? How do we describe what Skubal's doing and putting together this year?
Well, I think that the difference that you're seeing with, so let's preface this by saying this, right? So first of all, this is not a kid coming out of nowhere. Skubal's been here for 6 years. He's been in the big leagues, not for a while. So his ascension to being great happened after he got hurt, really. I mean, he was a good pitcher before he got hurt. He's a great pitcher after he got hurt. And in my mind, it's all about what went in his head and how aggressive he's become. But I also think that, too, mindset of a pitcher is extremely important. And he's now at the point where he don't walk these guys, right? So if you're not walking guys, you got stuff in your head that you can do different things that other pitchers can't. So two things. One, he can command the pitches where he wants to. So to a certain degree, he's an architect of things that other pitchers can't provide. And then second, he has a mentality in his head that he's just not going to give in to anybody. It doesn't matter who is up to bat. It doesn't matter. He thinks he's better than everybody else, and he's going to do that. And some of these guys do that, and then they go up there and somebody hits a home run on them or does something, and then they go, oh, my God, that was bad. But that doesn't happen with him. So how do you describe him? Hey, Marty Lowe. So how do you describe him? I think you describe him as like an architectural kind of guy that lays it out, that says, these are where we're going to go and what we're going to do. But he's got this real tough mental edge that a lot of guys don't have. And he's got that Oral Hershiser dog in him, right? I mean, that's what he's got. Like I think Pedro's big thing is Pedro was, I'll just come kick the shit out of you if I don't. And he's a little tiny guy, right? I mean, he's not a big guy, but he was aggressive and mean. And I think that Scooble has a side of him that's aggressive, just not mean.
It's going to be interesting. And closing before I send the board over to you, don't ask to be traded, because Savali says, I want to get traded. And the Brewers say, okay, we're going to move you to the bullpen because we brought the kid up. And he wakes up this morning and he's gone to the White Sox.
Well, I don't think he cares that he pitches for the White Sox now. I think, part of that whole thing is, look, I don't have a spot anymore on this team, and I'm a starting pitcher, and I don't want to go pitch in the bullpen. So he'll do whatever he needs to do because, he's a professional pitcher. But at the same time, I'm looking at the White Sox, and I get it. They don't have the best staff in the world. But you know what? They've got, like, Hauser's pitching for him today. Well, he's been pretty good. Smith had pitched for him, and he's been great too. And Martin has been developing as they come along. So, maybe he can go in there and bide some time for some of these other guys. But look, I looked at the numbers for the White Sox today, and I was like, are you kidding? Like the White Sox, where's the situation? There they are. The Chicago White Sox are 8-12 in their last 20 games. I mean, that's a team that lost, I don't know, more games than any team in baseball last year. They're 8-12. That's pretty good. They're 5-5 over the last 10 games. Well, 8-12, it's better than the Athletics 4-16. It's better than like the Royals at 7-13. So it's better than Miami at 6-14 over the last 20 games. And it's not like they haven't been playing people. They've been playing some pretty decent caliber competition. So I will tell you, I think the White Sox, they have not turned a corner. Don't get me wrong. They're just competitive. They're going to go out and give you everything they got every day. And maybe that was just a managerial change. Maybe it was an attitude adjustment in the clubhouse or whatever. I don't know. But they're playing much better, and their best player, the center fielder there, he hasn't hit at all. He's still batting like 150 or something. So, and they can't trade him now because he has no value. Otherwise, they could have traded him and got quite a few good players back. But it's just a weird scenario with the White Sox, and I'm good for them that they're throwing a little bit of fight, but at the same time, some of these teams are just, I don't know, man. Some of these teams just go through this stuff, and it's like the A's. everybody at the beginning of the year, the A's were darlings to everybody. Well, where's all this? Where's all this hype for the A's now? Nobody's talking about them. Well, I don't blame them. I mean, you lose all these games that they've lost. They're and then the Angels go up and they go down, and they go up and they go down, and they go up and they go down. Well, it's because that's the kind of talent that they have. So they're going to win some games, but they can't pitch. So if they can't pitch, they're going to lose a lot of games. Maybe they'll be 500-ish. I don't think so. I think they'll be lower than that. But we'll see. It's in my world. It's kind of interesting. Some of these things I look at and I sit there and I go, well, I like to look at things and go, well, how far off is Miami compared to the Rockies? Like, I think Miami's terrible, but are they? How much better than the Rockies are they? Do they match up to the White Sox? Well, I don't think the White Sox are too much better than the Rockies. So do they match up to the Rockies? Do they match up to like the Oakland A's? Where do all these teams sort of kind of have hierarchy and kind of go? And I get it that nobody else cares about stuff like that, but the point of it is as you do those things with the smaller teams, not smaller teams, but the teams that have lesser wins, you start doing it with the teams that have bigger wins, and then you kind of get more experience of saying, well, the Giants and the Padres, what's the difference between those two teams, and where does the Diamondbacks fit in? I just was looking at the flipping over to get the standings. And MLB has an article on there going, oh, well, this team, if they start selling at the All-Star break, could alter everything. It's the Diamondbacks. They got all these expiring contracts, and they can get rid of all these great players. Why would they do that? I mean, they could. I mean, I don't know that they will, but that would be almost like a total rebuild. And I don't think people in Arizona want a total rebuild. So anyway, I didn't read the article. It just popped up. I was like, holy crap, what are these guys talking about? People have lost their mind.
Plenty of baseball tonight. Of course, Paul Skeens Day. I'm going to bring you to front and center here so you can break down the board, and then I'll be back in a little while.
Yeah, no worries. We'll see what this looks like as we kind of go along here. The first game is an early game. It's a day game. I was trying to look at this and figure out a little bit about the total is down to 6.5 in this game. And there's two things here. I think Paul Skeens is not getting enough credit for what Paul Skeens has been doing lately. At the beginning of the season, I told you, Paul Skeens wasn't the same Paul Skeens as he was a year ago. However, things have gotten a lot better for Paul Skeens, and his arsenal's been doing a lot more with it. So we'll talk about that in a second. But this Cade Horton kid, look, statistically, he's an average pitcher. That's what he is. He's an average pitcher, and at home, he's probably a little worse than an average pitcher. So you got a little bit worse than an average pitcher going against like the second best pitcher in all of baseball. And the Cubs, they're not hitting right now. So they rank 27th in the last 7 days in baseball in offense. 27th, the Cubs. So this is a team that's been scoring lots of runs and doing lots of hitting, but they're not hitting right now. And then they got to go face Paul Skeens. Now the Pirates, they are hitting. The Pirates are a team that, oh my God, this team, they don't do a whole lot. But if you look at where they're at, the Pirates are scoring 4 runs a game. Not a lot, but 4 runs a game. It's more than the Cubs are scoring. Cubs are scoring 3.3 runs a game. And the Cubs rank 27th in offense, and the Pirates rank 17th. So can the Cubs win this game? Well, the Cubs can obviously win this game because if the Pirates don't score and the bullpens come in, and then they can beat the bullpens, right? But I will say this, what the Cubs do is that they're isolated power. Isolated power, by the way, let's break this down for a second, is a great gauge to how teams score runs. So if you take a team's batting average, right, and okay, that's how they get all their hits and they do all this stuff. and then you subtract it from the team's slugging percentage, which then includes all the the total bases. That's total bases divided by hits, right? So you have total bases and then batting average. Well, they take that and subtract it out. That becomes isolated power. So it isolates on doubles, triples, home runs, power, right? So, and it doesn't have to be home runs. It's just extra base hits. So the Cubs rank 7th, even though their offense ranks 27th. So that gives them a fighting chance, except when you look at the starting pitcher today, Paul Skeens, he doesn't give up home runs. So, that's the deal, right? So you got to kind of figure that out a little bit. So you have a Sierra number of 4.23 for Horton today and 2.61 for Skeens. I will tell you that I think Skeens is going to hold his own here. The only drawback that I have to this game at all, the only one, of all the teams that since Paul Skeens has been a major league pitcher, he's pitched against the Cubs the most. They've seen him all the time. They've seen him already 5 times, the Cubs. So, and Skeens is 2-1 against them. And he's got, a good earned run average, 2.2 or something like that. But my point being is that they know what to expect. They've seen him all the time, and they can hit Paul Skeens. So he's got to be on his A game. And Paul Skeens last time out, he threw a game score 83. The time before that, 78, 68, 68, 65, and 85. I mean, he has been lights out his last 5 starts. This to me is setting up to a spot where if you want to bet Paul Skeens because, he's been real good, I don't blame you. I just think it's a spot where he doesn't come through today. His regression ripeness puts him in a position where I think even though I said all this stuff about the Cubs and hitting and the Pirates and all that stuff, experience kind of sits here and goes, this is not the spot for Skeens to be betting. You shouldn't be betting him. Away teams, you don't want to bet him. The Pirates on the road, by the way, have won 9 times out of 23. 9 and 23. 9 times out of 32 times they've tried. So I think that's a bad spot. Anyway, I think the line's good. My line's much better for Pittsburgh than it is for Chicago. So I see value there. And I'm like, I want to chomp at the bit to go ahead and bet this game, especially when I looked at another spot here. I look at OPS plus. So that's a statistic that you can find it on Baseball Reference anyway. SOPS plus is a predictive measure of how an offense is going to perform. And they grade it on a scale of 100. So for offenses, you want to be above that number. And for pitchers, you want to be below that number. So anything below 100, you're better than average. Anything above 100, you're worse than average. So, all these pitchers, I've got them graded out for that today over the last 28 days. Well, I just told you what his game scores look like. His it's unbelievable. His SOPS plus, this being Paul Skeens, for the last 28 days, which is 5 starts, -2. It's a minus number, for God's sakes. He's 102% better than an average pitcher. It's unbelievable. And why wouldn't you want to bet that? Well, you wouldn't want to bet it because they're 9 and 23 on the road. And I get it. You see all these memes that go around, and they talk about how good he is, and then he's like, 3-8 or record wise or whatever. Look, don't buy into any of that crap. He's made 14 starts. In those 14 starts, the Pirates are 6-8. That's what you got to look at. Okay, I get it. He's a great pitcher, but the Pirates are a terrible offense, and he's going to face the best pitchers that the other team has normally. So 6-8, that's kind of normal. Like last year, go look at what Wheeler's numbers were. He's probably barely just over 500. You get guys you get guys like that, and they're like that all the time. Like Crochet, he's 8-6 in all the starts that. And I'm not talking about his personal record. You got to talk about what the team does. So don't buy into all this stuff you read on the internet all the time. It's kind of bogus, and it's always skewed to a certain pop factor, if that's what you want to call it. Anyway, next game, I'm just going to kind of cruise over. I will say this is Miami, Washington. Who wants to bet Miami, Washington, for God's sakes? You've got Miami. Miami is 11-21 on the road. Why would you want to bet that? And the Washington Nationals are the 30th best offense going. Just leave it alone. I mean, you don't want to bet on bad teams unless you really have a good spot, or you're betting against them. Bad teams are going to do all kinds of crazy stuff. This game might end up 8-7 or something. Who knows? But I will say Cabrera has been pretty good, and Parker has not. So it's a spot where, if you like it and you want to bet it, good luck. This next game is interesting to me. This is Toronto and Philadelphia. Philadelphia is going through it in a bad way. They're 3-7 in their last 10 games, and Toronto's been, don't sleep on Toronto. Go look at the American League East standings. They're second behind the Yankees right now, and their quote best pitchers pitching tonight, Gausman, against Suarez. So it's an interesting matchup in a sense that Gausman is a 3.12 Sierra number, and Suarez 3.73. So it's pretty close. But Gausman's 3.12 makes him more elite. It hits the my stuff's color coded, so it hits the green, which gives him a top 15, top 20% percentile number. Kind of looking at it and going, okay, well, what's going on with that game? The big thing here is where is the big difference? The two pitchers kind of get all the bet points in this location, right? Then you swing it out, and there's a huge edge here in terms that the Toronto Blue Jays are 19% better than an average offense right now, and the Phillies are 15% worse. The Toronto Blue Jays score 5.7 runs a game, and the Phillies score 3.5. So you keep going, and the Blue Jays are hitting 1.5 home runs a game, and the Phillies are hitting less than that, or less than one. They're 0.7. And then the bullpens all favor Toronto. So you got an offense and a bullpen that favors Toronto. And then you have the Philadelphia Phillies that kind of come in and they're struggling. And you go, well, that's not a bad recipe there. My only drawback to this whole game, it's Phillies minus 107. I think you should be able to go and bet Toronto in this game. And I'll pull it up real fast while I'm talking. But I think when you look at it from the perspective of how do you kind of want to bet these games and make sure that you're doing the right things, the realities kind of come in that my number in this game said, hey, Suarez and the Phillies are probably just a little bit bigger than the 107. I have them at like 124, so that's cause for concern. I haven't got there yet. Let's see. Let's go to away teams, and I want to look at Toronto. So Toronto Blue Jays. Now look, I'm just going to tell you, these teams win at home, and they don't win on the road, and that's why you got to be real careful. The Toronto Blue Jays play 33 away games. They're 13-20. It's not very good. And at 13-20, they are minus 10.55 units if you bet on them. They had all of those games. So, where's the true value? In my mind, suck it up, and you got to look at it from the Philly side and go, I hope they beat Gausman. That's kind of the way I think about it. So yes, the bet points and all that other stuff I just talked about are all great for Toronto, but it doesn't. Oh, so here's another note. Like if I say it this way, maybe you'll understand a little differently. If I go and say, there we go. So I go and say, I think it's this one, offense, Tampa, Toronto. So on the road, Toronto is 11% worse than an average team. And you can just see it in the number, right? We just showed it. So we're in Philadelphia at home gets a 15% lift in performance. So that's where this stuff kind of goes. And home teams. You got to figure out how to bet them and where to go. And my number favors Toronto more. And my bet points all say, hey, Toronto's the right side, but I just don't feel like it's a good spot either, for Toronto. I think that home field thing for them is going to matter in this particular spot. LA Angels and Baltimore. This Kokonowitz guy that's pitching for the Angels, God, he's awful. And you got Charlie Morton pitching for the Orioles. This is Orioles or nothing, and it's minus 160 or something. So I'm not going to get into first fives or any of that stuff here. I think Baltimore's starting to turn things around on offense a little bit, not dramatically yet, but a little bit. Baltimore's offense right now is eighth in baseball. They're scoring 4.3 runs a game. 18% better than an average offense right now. So they're turning the corner, but haven't turned it yet. And they're facing a terrible pitcher. So they ought to be able to beat him up. Anyway, I think the number's too big. That Yankee game, again, in the Red Sox, my number is Crochet of minus 160. And I think it's like minus 130 or something. Where's it at now? So Profit X has it at minus 132. So I think there's a lot of value on the Red Sox. The Red Sox are number 2 in offense. Yankees are number 3 in offense. Like we said at the beginning of this show, that these two teams have pitched against each other just last week. These two pitchers pitched against each other. Crochet threw a game score of 49, and Yarbrough threw a 14. But, I think you're going to see them both pitch better. For the season right now, Yarbrough's a game score of 51, so he's an average pitcher. That's for the season. And Crochet's a game score of 62, so he's an ace. Now, I'm going to preface this by saying I like Crochet, but, I don't think he's dominant like Skeens. He's not dominant like Skubal. He gets hit, and he gets himself in a little bit of trouble here and there, and he has to really work himself out of it. And more often than he should, based on the stuff he has. Now, maybe it's just experience and age and different things, and he's going to grow into that. But I will say, I think that with the advantage that he has on the mound tonight, with the best offense, second best offense in baseball, I think that the line is bad, and I think that this is a good spot for you to take advantage of it. I don't mind taking Crochet because I think he has a bounce back performance. The numbers are pretty good for him. 2.25 Sierra number, big strikeouts. But Yarbrough's numbers are 2.92. But he's more hittable, right? And just everybody sits there and goes, he's more hittable. Well, he's been pretty tough. So it's kind of an interesting situation. Situationally, the other thing I was looking at here is Crochet's been good in a lot of spots, meaning that Crochet's good in the last 28 days. He's been good at home, and he's been good on the road or at night. And for whatever reason, it looks to me like Yarbrough has been an above, meaning worse pitcher than an average pitcher at night for some reason. That people pick up the ball better. So I think that's not a good thing for him. So we'll see how it goes. The Yankees do well against lefties. They're 10-6 against lefties. Boston's 7-9 against lefties. So see how that plays out. And the interesting thing that I think, Boston's 19-17 at home, and they need to get their home going a little better, right? That needs to be something that's really, really a big deal, because they could be a really good team. They just need to keep that run at home. Anyhow, I think that's probably a good spot. This Cincinnati-Detroit game, look, I think Martinez a lot of times gets slept on. And I know that Herter is going to be the starting pitcher for Detroit, but he's an opener, so Montero is going to be the pitcher that you really need to focus on. Montero is just an average pitcher at best. Martinez is better than an average pitcher at best. And I'm going to be honest, Cincinnati's offense has been better than Detroit's. Detroit offensively right now is ranked 22nd, and they're only scoring 3 runs a game. Cincinnati scoring 5.2 runs a game. Offense ranks 9th. I think this could be one of those tricky spots that you got to be real careful with. The Reds are a team that do like to play on the road, though. That they don't have a dramatic fall off like some of these teams do in performance on the road in terms of offense. Theirs is 1%. So that means they're 99 weighted runs created plus on the road. And Detroit's home advantage is only 5% kick, so it's not that big. And two, if I go and I look at it from another level of performance for the Reds and look at situational numbers, the Reds are 17-18 on the road. And you got teams that are really bad. You've got like Pittsburgh 9-23 on the road. 14 games under. And the Reds are 17-18, so it's not. But then you pop in. Okay, well, what about how good is Detroit at home? They've played 32 games. They won 23 of them. They're 23-9. So do you really want to bet against the Tigers and the bullpen that the Tigers have and being able to do different things, even though they can't hit right now? It just makes them tough. So my opinion is I'm staying off this game. But I could see why people would want to bet on either side probably. My number in the game is Cincinnati minus 103 because I rated against Montero. So Tampa Bay and Minnesota. This game is not Minnesota. The Mets. This is one of those spots I think where the Mets are. My number is 169. The listed odds I had was 164. I'm not paying those prices, and I'm not paying the first 5 on this game because the pitching matchup is too tight. Meaning that if I looked at the pitchers and I go, oh, what's going on? This is Bradley and Holmes. Bradley's off a game score 22, so he'll throw a little bit better today. Holmes for the season's a game score 54, but Bradley's a 50, so he's average, but he's been picking it up to get to that average. His last few starts are 22, 78, 60, 58, so he's been pretty good. That was an offset spot, so I expect him to pitch pretty good tonight. So, the Mets just beat up the Nationals. Well, this isn't the Nationals they're playing now. This is the Rays, and the Rays are a lot better, and they don't make dramatic mistakes like the Nationals do. So this is one of those spots where you got to if you want to find a way to bet it, you got to look really hard. And I just did all this, so I haven't gotten into that part of betting it yet. But I'm just going to tell you, I think it's a pretty competitive game. And Holmes has pitched against the Rays before, not in a starting role. I mean, he's been a Yankee relief pitcher, so they've seen him, or at least some of those guys have. So this is not unfamiliar territory for them. The next game is Colorado and Atlanta, and now Colorado is just not getting any respect in any way, shape, or form. And I don't blame anybody. Look, if you bet Colorado, good luck to you. Colorado is non-competitive in most situations. I know they just beat some of these teams a couple times, but and they just played the Giants pretty tough. Now they're going to get the Braves. The Braves need to win these games, so we'll see what happens there. But I'm not going to get into that game. Hauser And the problem that I have here, let me see if game has been updated as to who's pitching for Texas. It doesn't say, but here's what I'll tell you. Everything that I'm looking at says DeGrom's pitching. I don't know. It seems kind of odd to me that if DeGrom was pitching, they should have put his name out there already. It's not like maybe they're planning on skipping him to start, not skipping him, but pushing him back a day, and that's why this is all developing this way. So I don't know who's pitching, and that's going to matter in terms of the number, because if DeGrom's pitching, that number that you're looking at of the White Sox and the Rangers, and the Rangers minus 180 or whatever, it's not going to be 180. It's going to be much higher. So kind of just depends on kind of who pitches for Texas. Texas had a good couple of days there. They scored a lot of runs twice, and then they got bombed vice versa the other day, the time in the middle. They scored 10 runs, 2 runs, and then 16 runs. So that's what I'm talking about. So now everybody thinks the Rangers are back. I don't know about that. But they're playing the White Sox, so they should be able to build some momentum. But again, these are spots where, you're going to have to try to figure out run lines. You're going to have to try to figure out first fives. You're going to have to try to figure out where does it all fit in. And and there's a big difference between DeGrom pitching and somebody else. So you got to figure out, where that kind of flows in this spot. So I'm going to skip that one over. And Hauser's not been bad for the White Sox. So like I said, they've been very competitive. The next game on my list here, what is this? This is, wrong one. There we go. The next game was, this is St. Louis, Milwaukee, right? We watched the kid pitch yesterday. He throws 102, 101, 102, 101, right? He's got a great big slider. Look, I don't know if you watched him pitch or if you got any of the highlights of those pitch. Here's what you got to do. That's the best he can pitch. He won't pitch that good again. He won't pitch that good again this year. So when you're betting on that kid, remember what people saw yesterday and what they're going to bet on the next day. So when he goes out and pitches the next time, they're going to bet this number, and they're going to bet the number up as much as I don't know who's going to pitch against him. He could be a dog, he could be a favorite. They're going to bet on him though, and they're going to change the number. Whatever they're doing, just in the back of your head, remember that he pitched as best as he's going to pitch. He's not going to pitch any better than that the next time he pitches. Might not be all season. So in the minor leagues, he pitched 13 times in AAA this year. It might have been 12. I think it was 13. I reviewed my notes. He gave up more than one run, only 3 times. And twice, well, I shouldn't say that. One of them was 2 runs, and the other 2 times were 5 runs. So, yeah, everybody's hittable. Everybody can get hit. But that was AAA pitcher. That was AAA. He's going to face, he didn't get as many strikeouts as maybe that he might get yesterday. But I also have look, he's a great pitcher. Don't get me wrong. That's not what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to show you betting skills. When a guy goes out and throws like that, he can't do it again. So the expectation is he's going to, but he's going to perform worse than he did there, and you might be able to catch a break. That's all I'm saying. This particular matchup is Fetty and Peralta. Fetty's been, not necessarily involved in this Milwaukee Brewer rivalry kind of thing, but he hasn't pitched good against the Brewers. He's got a game score of 42 against the Brewers in the last 5 that he's pitched against them. Peralta's been pretty good against St. Louis. He's off a game score of 72, though, and both of these pitchers have very high numbers today. Sierra number for Fetty's 5.31, and the Sierra number for Peralta is 4.40. So, yeah, it's a 1-run variance to the side of St. Louis. But it's just one of those spots where these pitchers are off, good starts, bad starts. They're just not in a spot where, they should be good. And both offenses are not very good right now. If I look at the offensive rank for Milwaukee, they're 29th out of 30 teams. And for St. Louis, they're 25th out of 29 teams. So who's going to take advantage of the pitching? I don't know. I don't know the answer to those questions. It's just like this. St. Louis at home, they get a 20% lift in offense. On the road, it's minus 11. But of all teams, Milwaukee, they don't do good at home in terms of their lift on offense. It's minus 20%, and they don't do good against right-handed pitchers. They're minus 13% against right-handed pitchers. So it's hard to bet these games that way. So I stayed off of that one. I think this is kind of a weird spot too. This is Kansas City and the Athletics. The Kansas City Royals just got, I don't want to say obliterated by the Yankees because they lost 1-0 yesterday. But the other two games, they gave up double digits, and it was their best pitchers. Today they're going to face the Athletics. The Athletics are a better road team in terms of performance and in terms of offensive performance. Now, they have none of these teams that play on these AAA spots have figured out how to do it yet, and they're the worst one. And they're throwing their best pitcher, Severino. Walker's pitching for Kansas City, but the number's too high, right? What was the number? Kansas City. Where'd it go? There it is. I mean, it's Kansas City minus 150 at home. Kansas City at home, their offense is minus 19% at home. They don't do well at home offensively. Now they might win some games, but they still have to figure out how to do it. And this is just a bad, again, it's just hard to find these good spots. Minus 150 is not a good spot. Minnesota and Houston. This is kind of an interesting matchup. You guys figured out, Houston's pretty good, right? They passed Seattle. They moving, and they keep moving. And the other teams can't catch them. Texas, they haven't battled in, and they have a young kid pitching today. But Paddock's been pretty good for the Twins, and the Twins haven't been this real dominant home team. So the Astros get a 21% lift at home. But the pitcher for them, Colton, I think is one of these spots where you just got to. This is a pretty good game. This should be a very competitive game, and my number in the game, there it is. So my number in this game was Houston minus 109. I think the listed odds I saw were minus, the same kind of number. So can you find the value there? I think there might be enough just to say home field edge or whatever to bet on Houston. The offense, there we go. Let's go there. Offensively, Houston ranks 11th. Minnesota ranks 6th against left-handed pitching. The Minnesota's minus 7%. So that's kind of where it comes into play. Minnesota's minus 5% on the road, minus 8% against lefties. Houston's 21% lift at home, and they're 8% positive against right-handed pitching. So you kind of run into that spot where maybe that's enough to bet on it. I don't know. I have to play it out a little farther. San Diego, Arizona, I think this is a big series. I think San Diego better put their hitting shoes on against Arizona. Arizona is currently the number 10 offense, but they're third in isolated power. This is why I do this. San Diego's 29th in offense, or 29th in isolated power, 18th in offense. So what does that mean? Well, that means that they're 29th. They have to string a lot of hits together. So if they're facing a pitcher that isn't going to allow them a whole bunch of hits, then that's going to be a problem to score runs, right? So Nelson is pitching today for Arizona. He's a 4.23 Sierra number, which is better than Kolek's number. He's a hard thrower, right? They've seen him before. They're not. This is nothing unusual for them. They've seen him before. He's got a game score against them of 38. So he's Padres have been successful against him. But in terms of stuff, he's got better stuff. He throws harder, and I think some of this comes down to what teams are hot, where they're at, and I know San Diego just played the Dodgers, played them pretty well. But they didn't face good pitching. Arizona is now, throwing another guy that's not necessarily the greatest pitcher, but he's a pretty decent guy. My numbers on this game, there's 24% lift for Arizona at home, and San Diego has a 12% decrease on the road. So it's a really a good spot when you consider Arizona there. And where's my number at? There we go. So my number was Arizona minus 116, and it's minus 126. So we'll see kind of if there's a gap enough to cover that. But I think that's probably a pretty good spot for Arizona. San Francisco, Los Angeles Dodgers. I think this number is ridiculous in a sense that, the Dodgers and the Giants in their standings are, 1 or 2 games apart from each other. Over the course of the season, maybe they're going to they should separate quite a bit, with the Dodgers being much bigger. But Yamamoto is not a better pitcher than Webb. Now, I will say that Webb is of all the great pitchers out there, and, we talked about that with Jeff at the beginning of the program, Webb is like 6th or 7th on the list of all the best pitchers in baseball. But he's one of those guys that push comes to shove, put him in big spots, it just doesn't come through. So that's what worries me about him. But statistically and numbers-wise, when you look at those numbers, Webb is a 2.28 Sierra number. Yamamoto is a 3.48 today. That's a 1-run edge to San Francisco. And when it comes to the offenses, when you think about what's going on there, since the offense for San Francisco ranks 13th, the offense for the Los Angeles Dodgers ranked 14th. And then you're going to tell me that this line for this game is Dodgers minus 178. It's way out of that's way off. But do you have the courage to go take the other side? Right? You got to take the Giants. Their value's on the Giants. My number in the Giants game is like 125 or something like that. Where is it? 129. I had Dodgers minus 129. Look, this isn't the same Dodgers team that's going to be there at the end. And this may be one of the best Giants spots you can about find. So again, these are road teams trying to beat home teams. Like, the Dodgers at home, they're pretty tough to beat. The Dodgers, 23-11. That's pretty tough, of course. But the Giants are 18-18 on the road, so that's not bad. Big rivalry game. So we'll see how that works out. The Giants are 7-3 in their last 10, so they got a little momentum. My opinion is that they're the right side. The Giants are the right side, not the Dodgers tonight. Anyway, starting pitchers, Yamamoto. Yamamoto's off a game score 72. It's pretty high for him. His number for the season is a game score 60. Webb is a game score 61. So these teams are pretty evenly matched tonight. The next game is another difficult one, only in a sense that we don't have a starting pitcher listed for Seattle. The numbers that I went off of and what I could find was it's going to be Castillo, and if it is, then these numbers aren't right. If it's not, then the numbers make sense, because this is now showing what Seattle Mariners minus 115, 110, and with Castillo against Williams, that they should be a little bigger favorite than that. And my number in that game, when I made it out with Castillo being the starting pitcher, I have, where to go? There it is. I've got him at minus 160. Now that means two things. A, I don't have a very high ranking of Cleveland, so that drops them down quite a bit. And the projected models, they don't like Williams at all. So he gets a little discredit, and Castillo gets like a 3 WAR against a 1 WAR, so he's 3 times better pitcher. Now, I don't know if he really is, but that's what the models say. And I've got a 530 winning percentage team and maybe 520 winning percentage team against a 460 winning percentage team. So that's why the number gets big for Seattle in my world. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time on that game only because I don't know who the pitchers are. So anyway, Jeff, that's kind of a breakdown. I don't know that that's really a lot of betting strategy, but I haven't gone and vetted these games to bet them yet myself. So.
Well, as always, a great job. It's Friday night lights, as we like to say here with the MLB. The Yanks coming to town. Paul Skeens Day, a great setup for us for tonight, and of course the weekend. You and I will be back 10:30 on Monday to highlight what happened in the weekend. Hopefully a Red Sox sweep. That would be nice. That'd make things a little interesting, Scott.
Hey, look, don't give up. Don't give up on them. I know I everywhere I see and people talk about the Red Sox and even when I looked at the FanGraphs numbers and they're like 18, 19% to make it to the playoffs. Look, it's all bullshit. I mean, I get it. It's statistically correct probably. But they're what are they? They're 2 or 3 teams ahead of them before they're in the in the wild card spot. So they get on, like we said, they get on a little bit of run. The Rays went 15-5. So you can't tell me the Red Sox can't go 15-5. The Red Sox go 15-5. They're in. So as of now. So all they got to do is start winning some games. You know what I mean? They just got to let all that bullshit go and start playing baseball. That's all.
Well, I think the funny thing is they won back-to-back series for the first time, I think, all season or in forever. So again, the Yankees, when you take 2 out of 3 in the Bronx, I know the Yankees would they win a 4-game series, I think it was, against Kansas City. Game 1, you got your ace going, so they need to really get out early. Place should be electric. It's beautiful out here as we speak. Place will be buzzing. CROCHET on the mound. Now the other topic locally, of course, is, and it's not Cora, and I wish people would get, this is not the Alex Cora that I know, that you know. This is someone that is now a puppet being run upstairs that has a conflict of interest with Breslow and upstairs. He got Bloom out of town, and now there's a battle here. My words here is that the kids aren't going to face lefties. And that's not Alex saying this. That's upstairs. And your thoughts about, should the Myers of the world, the Roman Anthonys of the world, as Alex says, and you know this, if you're any halfway decent lefty pitcher, you're not in AAA. You're already up in the majors. They need lefty arms. Shouldn't you just throw them to the Wolves and get it done and get it over with?
Well, I think you can for a while. So meaning that, like Kerry Carpenter, right, that plays for the Tigers. He don't play against left-handed pitchers hardly ever. And he's probably, if he played every day and could hit left-handed pitchers, he would be their best hitter. I mean, he'd be better than Riley Green. He would. But I think that you got to find that out, but you got to give people a legitimate chance. And in the Major League Baseball world today, a lot of these kids that play against lefties and are left-handed don't get a chance. Like Ben Rice is playing for the Yankees. He hits against left-handed pitching. They let him hit, and he's been doing pretty good against left-handed pitching. So some of that I think you don't know what you have until you actually get them out there, because what they're going to face in the big leagues compared to what they face in AAA with lefties is a total different thing. I do this every day, and there might be 5 left-handed pitchers at the most every day that pitch out of 30. So left-handed pitchers have become scarcities, and not only are they scarcities, you got to learn to hit them, and I think that's probably part of probably some of the problem is. These guys, I don't know. Major League Baseball is so weird sometimes with some of these, breakdowns and different mechanics that they have that, these guys can't do this stuff. They can. And part of it is you got to teach them. But I will say at the big league level, it's a finished product. You're not trying, you're going to have them make adjustments and get better, but you're not going to teach them how to hit left-handed pitching at the big league level, right? It's a finished product there. If they can swing right and you got to make an adjustment to do this or turn your shoulder in or you got to keep your hips in and not, flare open to hit a left-hand pitcher or whatever, maybe some of that they can work on, but they're not going to be able to teach you how to hit a left-handed pitcher there. You got to figure that out in the minor leagues.
Well, we can't wait. Again, we thank you as always. Everyone watching and listening, if you haven't already, jump on over to YouTube at East Coast Sports Investors. Subscribe. It's free. We're up to almost 12,000 subscribers. So come join us and come on back. Come follow me at EC Sports Investors. Of course, Scotty Webb at Webby20MLB. Potentially a show with Travis Geiger and Wager Wire will be our fifth of the day. Otherwise, dark for the rest of the weekend. Go enjoy the U.S. Open. Go enjoy college baseball. Go enjoy the MLB, NBA tonight, NHL over the weekend. And, of course, I want to wish Scotty and all the fathers out there a happy Father's Day on Sunday. Enjoy yourselves, behave, and stay tuned.